Hey guys, Caleb Giddings here, and in this video we're going to talk about my thoughts on the 2023 Bianchi Cup, which is the first cup administered by the Civilian Marksmanship Program, and also my return to the sport of action pistol shooting after taking 9, almost 10 years off from it due to a number of reasons. Now, I recognize that Bianchi Cup and action pistol shooting is a very niche concept. Like, it's niche compared to in the shooting sports world, which is already pretty niche. So if this video gets like 1,000 views across all platforms, it will be a hit as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, let's get into, so first let's talk about what is the Bianchi Cup for people who have never heard of it before. And it is one of the most historic shooting matches. It's held in Columbia, Missouri, usually around Memorial Day weekend. It involves 4 courses of fire. It's always the same 4 courses of fire, and they're all tremendously difficult. The sport is called action pistol shooting, but it's not actually very action-y. It was called action pistol because at the time it was invented, it had a lot more action than just, say, bullseye, because you had to draw from a holster, and on some of the earlier courses you had reloads and things like that. And that's a future of the action pistol sport video that we could do way later, but we're just going to talk about Bianchi Cup. Bianchi Cup is the national championship of action pistol shooting, and it's tough. The sport demands a high level of accuracy, an unbelievably high level of accuracy. To win, if you're shooting an open gun, which is a highly specialized piece of equipment, you have to shoot a perfect score. You have to shoot all 192 shots have to be 10s, and the winner is decided by the number of X's that they get, which is a 4-inch circle in the middle of the 8-inch 10 ring. Surrounding that 8-inch 10 ring is a 10-inch 8 ring. And I know that's confusing with the numbers, but it's there. And then the rest of the target is worth 5 points. Bianchi Cup and Action Pistol have 4 competitive divisions now for centerfire pistols. They have open, which is anything goes. You wouldn't believe these guns. You have metallic, which is like limited division, or ESP, with, again, some more specific modifications. You have production, which is actually just production guns. It's actually way more of a production division than the production division in USPSA is, and I'll talk about that later maybe. And now you have production optics, so your carry optics divisions, right? One of the things about the cup, about Bianchi Cup, is that the revolvers compete heads up against everything else, because all of the strings of fire, the most you'll ever fire at one time is 6 shots. So revolvers just compete heads up. There's a high overall revolver award, but that always goes to some open revolver dude. So in production, which is what I shoot, my revolver competes heads up against guys shooting, striker fire, like guns with fully tensioned striker fire triggers that have like 2.5-pound triggers. So there's a bit of a gear disparity sometimes, which is fine. That's what we signed up for, right? So anyway, that's a little bit of background on the cup, and we're already like 3 minutes into this video. So in order to keep this under 20 minutes, let's move on. If you don't know anything about Bianchi Cup, I encourage you to Google it, do the history, look up the history of the sport, go to the CMP's website, because now the CMP didn't always have Bianchi Cup. They weren't always the sanctioning body for it. It used to be sanctioned by the NRA. And I could do a whole long video about what happened and why the CMP is now the sanctioning body for the cup, but that's a different story. Suffice to say, the CMP taking over the cup is one of the reasons that I finally said I'm making the time, I'm going back this year. It also helps that the company I work for, Taurus USA, sponsored the match. Why did they sponsor the match? Because I work for Taurus USA and I decide what matches we sponsor. Tricky, right? So anyway, coming into the match, I decided I was going to go back to shooting production. I had shot production basically every year, but for 1 or 2, I did my personal best in production division at this match was 1695. You can shoot a maximum of 1,920 points. The best I'd ever shot in the main match at Hallsville was 1695, and that was with a Tanfoglio Stock 2 with running 38 Super with a tuned-up trigger and like match 38 Super ammo. Probably the best gun for this sport that I have ever used, without a question. My goals coming into this match were I wanted to beat that stock 2 score. I wanted to shoot into the 1700s. I know I can shoot into the 1700s because I've done it before on these courses of fire, not here at Hallsville or not in the main match, but I have done it before, so I know I've got that in me. Well, that was goal number 1. Goal number 2 was I would have loved to have finished in the top 3. That would have been amazing. Maybe like at the outside, top 5 also would have been amazing. But I also understand I can't necessarily control that because I can't control who shows up, right? And if like 4 shooters show up, then I'm probably going to finish. Then there's a good chance I might finish in the top 3 unless they're all sharks. If 25 shooters show up, it's hard, right? You can't really control where you finish, and also because the other guy gets a vote because he might just shoot really, really good. So that was that. So my goals were shoot a 1700, beat my score that I shot with the Tanfo Stock 2, finish in the top 5. Really, that's kind of where I was at. How many of those goals did I hit? 0. I hit none of them. That is a frustrating thing as a shooter, to not perform to a level of skill that you know you can perform to, but it is what it is. Let's talk about that though. Let's talk about why I didn't do that. And these are not excuses. The bottom line, the reason why I didn't beat my 1695 and the reason why I didn't finish in the top 5 is because I didn't perform. That's it. There is no, well, I didn't perform because the sun was in my eyes, or I didn't perform because my gun's hard to shoot. No. I didn't perform. And end of discussion. Why didn't I perform? Now, that's an interesting discussion because the first thing that we want to look at is training. This match is a specialty match. You have to train specifically for this match, and the best way to train specifically for this match is to set up the stages and shoot the piss out of them. I can't set up the mover, which is the moving target stage, where I have a target that runs, it goes 60 feet in 6 seconds, so it's going 10 feet per second, and it goes this way, and then it stops, and you holster, and it comes back out, and it goes that way, and you stop, holster, right? I can't set that up and practice for it because I don't have a moving target. There are ways that you can set up a target. What you can do is you can set up 6 targets, and you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that helps you drive the gun and shoot it in movement. It's not quite the same, but it helps. I have a plate rack. I could have practiced the plates. I can set up the practical because I've got a 50-yard range that I can shoot on. And I can sort of set up the barricades, but I didn't. That's the thing. I didn't do any of it. And it wasn't because I didn't want to. I just didn't have the time. I've been very busy with work, and I know that there were times when I chose to do things other than practice for Bianchi Cup. Sometimes those were the smart things to do. Like I chose to spend time with my family instead of practice for Bianchi Cup. Smart. I chose to, in one instance, I chose to spend time practicing for an IDPA match that I won Revolver division in instead of practicing for Bianchi Cup. Those are choices, and I made those choices, and the consequence of those choices is that I didn't perform as well as I would have liked. A really good way to kind of describe this match is that it was very up and down. I had moments where I performed very, very well and shot the lights out. I finished 3rd in the production division on the practical, which is an event that involves shooting back to 25 and 50 yards. Most people go prone at 25 and 50 yards. I don't, and I finished 3rd. I shot really, really well at those distances, and I was really proud of that. But then you had moments of terrible shooting, like on the barricades at 15 yards, where I shot like 4 5s in one string of 6 shots, and you don't want to shoot 5s. It's bad. But the best example of this, and something that I mentioned on my Instagram, is on the mover at 25 yards. I made, in the span of seconds, the worst mental mistake I think I've ever made in the history of me shooting, followed by the finest performance of technical gun handling and shooting ability that I've also ever made in the history of my shooting. So what happened was At 25 yards, it's a 3-shot string and a 3-shot string on the mover. So I fired those strings, and what I didn't do was reload my gun for the next 2 strings. So I have an empty gun in my holster, and I don't even realize I have an empty gun in my holster. When I go and I get set and the mover comes out, there's no audible beep. Your sign to shoot is you see the target. And the mover comes out from behind the wall, the gun comes up, it goes click, I initiate a reload. I could have just let it go. I could have just said, I'm never going to get this reload done in time. I'm just going to say goodbye to those 30 points and probably finish 10th. But I said, no, I am Caleb Giddings and I reload this gun all the time. And I go, and I stick the reload, and as the mover's going away, I whip 3 shots at it, just boom, 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 0.3 splits easily. And they all connect. I think I shot like an 8.55, which, you know, they're not 10s. I ended up giving away a lot of points, but it's a perfect example of how my match went. I did something unbelievably dumb, and then I did something unbelievably cool to make up for it, but it doesn't fully make up for it because the dumb outweighs the cool in this instance. So I ended up finishing 6th. I shot a 16.21, which is still pretty good given the limiting factors that I was dealing with my gear. So let's move into the gear portion of this. We're going to talk about my gun that I shot at this match. So this is a Taurus Model 82. And you can probably tell right off the bat that the sights aren't great. This is just, you know, regular fixed gutter sights gun. I use this gun for IDPA shooting where the sights are more than adequate for IDPA and the level of precision that I have to put down in IDPA. But this great big front sight is about the width of the 8 ring at 25 yards, and at 50 yards, it's almost the entire width of the target. So that's tough to get the sort of precise, refined sight picture that I need while also staying in on the par times because, you know, you have a limited amount of time to get this shot off, right? So 16.21 is not bad. I am honestly not upset about that score given this is the gun that I was shooting. If I wanted to come out here with an optimal gun from the Taurus USA catalog for this match, for production division, I'd probably, like of all of the guns across all of our lines, I'd probably grab a Taurus 92. Even though I can't put Langdon parts in it, I can still get a pretty good trigger out of those with a little bit of work. And the guns tend to be very mechanically accurate. So that's probably what I would go with if I was going with a semi-auto. If I was going with a Revolver from our current catalog, no question, it'd be a Model 66 with a 6-inch barrel. Those guns have adjustable sights. They've got a longer sight radius. The front sight post is more narrow. There's a lot more I could do with that for this match than with my, you know, $300 security guard gun. So why did I bring this gun to this match? Because it's a $300 security guard gun. Because you can go into any gun store and buy one of these for, I'm not kidding when I say $300. And I have been shooting this as my primary IDPA gun because I want to point out that there is a lot more you can do with these guns than people think, right? I shot a 16.21 at one of the hardest sports in the shooting sports with a gun that is very much not a specialist designed for the sport gun. I shoot this gun in IDPA. Right now, this gun's got 4,600 rounds on it, and it just keeps going. I actually really like this gun, and I came into the match knowing that I was handicapping myself by shooting this. So that's the reason that ultimately, even though I am frustrated that I didn't hit my goals, I'm not that mad at myself because I came into this with a self-imposed handicap because it matters more to me to demonstrate to people what you can do with one of these plain Jane revolvers than it does to, you know, finish third and in production division or shoot a 1750 or something like that. Because this gun's really good. At the end of the day, this gun's really great. It is 25-yard accurate. It's 50-yard accurate. I actually shot great at 50 yards. 50 yards, standing double action, unsupported. I shot mostly 10s and no 5s. The gun is accurate. The gun is reliable. It's a tank. And that's why I brought it with me, is because I could have, gone and been like, you know what, I'm not going to shoot one of my, I'm not going to shoot my gun at this match. I'm going to go get a specialist gun. And next year, I'm going to have a specialist gun, because hopefully by next year, all you people will understand that Taurus revolvers are, in fact, quite rad. This one's quite rad. So I knew I had a limit. There's a limiting factor bringing that gun to this match, but I'm okay with that. And ultimately, I'm really okay with how I performed, because coming into it with a limit on, my sights, the trigger being heavier, and all of those other things, I didn't finish last. I beat a bunch of people, and I shot this gun probably about to the best of my ability to shoot it. Sometimes I didn't. Not every string of fire was my best string of fire. I didn't shoot it at the peak of my skill every time I pulled the trigger, but there were moments where I really shot that gun the best I've ever shot it, and that I'm happy with, and that I can walk away from this match feeling good about. So let's talk about next year. I have been, pleased so far with how the CMP ran the match. I think they've done a great job. I think that the format is good. I have notes. Everybody's got notes, but I'm going to save those for when I talk to the CMP guys later, because that's more of a, hey guys, here's some things that me as a longtime competitor returning to this match feel. So we'll have the conversation later. But what I want to talk to you guys about is my plan for next year. So next year, I'm coming back, God and time and my job and the Air Force and all of those other factors that I have going on willing. And I want to come prepared. I came into this with zero prep time, and I would love to come back and be ready to go to it. I want to have the right gun, a 6-inch revolver with adjustable rear sights that I can tune for the right round. All of this stuff that I want to do, I want to come back next year and I want to be prepared for it, because next year I am going to shoot an 1800 at this match, because I'm going to have the right gun. I'm going to have the right ammo. My ammo was great. Sidebar, I was shooting Federal Train and Protect 158 grain lead semi-wad cutter hollow points. Fantastic. Laser beam accurate when I didn't, with my gun. Ammo was fantastic. I would probably next year prefer to shoot a jacketed hollow point, though, just because there's a little less smoke and it's easier to track the sights when you're not dealing with a cloud of 1800s gunpowder gun smoke, right? But next year, I want to come back, and I want you guys to come to this match. It's down in participation from where it used to be, but if you want to have the experience of testing your ability to line up the sights and press the trigger, this is the place for it. Bianchi Cup is, at its heart, a pure test of shooting skill. That's all it is. It asks you one question: can you shoot? It is unconcerned with your ability to reload. It is, except for when you screw up like I did, but it is largely unconcerned with your ability to reload. It is unconcerned with your ability to move. It is unconcerned with your ability to draw fast. It just asks one question: can you line up the sights and can you press the trigger? And that's it. And that's what makes it so fascinating. It's not driving people to the highest echelons of shooting performance, but it is pushing the practical accuracy that you can get out of your gun to the most extreme level. It is asking a very tough question, and it is the only place that you can come to really find that answer. And I would love to see all of the tactical trainers and all of, the guys, doing these incredible feats of skill, getting the shooting challenge Pokemon, catching them all. I would love to see those guys come here. I have some of those shooting challenge Pokemon. I've tried a lot of those, but I would love to see those guys come here and put those skills to test in the ultimate action pistol accuracy test. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I love this match. I have such a long history with this match. I could talk about it for hours, but I'll be back next year. And I hope that you enjoyed my 20-minute retrospective on Bianchi Cup.